Today we're doing the lower body circuit. Last time we did a lower body circuit, we were doing some big body movements, squats, deadlifts. We are going to do squats again today because I do think squats are a very functional, human, practical movement. As you've heard me say, you should do squats while you brush your teeth. There's a huge benefit to just even muscular endurance, range of movement, some core work, ankle joints, knee joints, all of that good stuff happens when you squat. We're not going to start with squats though. We're going to finish with squats. First things first though, we're going to do little bridge. Now, this workout, you don't need any props. I know there's stuff behind me, but don't worry about that. We're starting with little bridge. We're going to lay down. Now, if you have done any of my critical alignment classes, I talk about how I want you to lift from your belly button. You can play with it, but ideally we're not lifting with the pelvis and pushing up, okay? Just from my back pain experience, that just doesn't work out very well for me. And I've learned that if I lift from my belly button, everything just functions better. So we're lifting into little bridge, hanging out right here and breathing. Now we're going to do this 3 times, but I want you to notice what's working. Pay attention to your breath and get that work happening. Slowly lowering down. When you get that work happening, sometimes your body will react. There might be a grip, there might be a pull, there might be even a cramp, especially with little bridge. Don't panic about it. We're going to work and play on that edge. So lifting again into little bridge. You're going to press your feet towards your shoulders. Allow your neck to lengthen gently. And again, you're hanging out here. This time, I want you to bring your knees in just a little bit. So you're really only coming in by maybe 1/2 inch on either side, just to engage those internal rotators. Because again, I want you working the weaker movement patterns, not necessarily the stronger movement patterns. And you can see what happens if I let my knees go out to the side. I can move much further. Then I draw those knees back in. I drop down a little bit. But again, it's playing with these movement patterns. Excuse me, slowly lowering down. One more time. Knees are in slightly, lifting from the belly button and hanging out right here. Now, if you find that this isn't too bad, you have a couple of options. Hang out where you are for a second. You can take one knee across or one ankle across your knee and lift on one side. That is a much stronger movement. I mean, you need some solid strength to do it. I do 2 feet. What I do to kind of get around it, because my body doesn't like that rotational aspect, is sometimes I'll put weights, like I'll take some solid 20-pound weights on my hips so that I'm getting a little bit more movement. But again, your choice, what you have, the props you have, all of that fun stuff. Slowly lowering down. We're going to move on to our side for a side plank. When we move on to the side, if you're doing side plank, I've got my bottom knee bent. My top leg is lifted. Okay, I'm hanging out in side plank. If you want to do full plank, your left foot is in front, your right foot is behind. Full plank. Either or, find your position because you're going to have to stay here. If you need to take that top leg and put it down, you can totally do that. But I do want you to challenge yourself a bit, and you're going to dip your hip down and lift up. Okay, now we're going to do this 8 times. When we do this, I want the movement, the primary driver of this movement, to be your bottom right leg, not your arm. Your arm is just there as a pivot point. And of course, I lost count. Let's make that 8. I'm going to switch sides because I don't want you walking in circles. Bottom knee, top leg, lifted, dip, up. Okay? This is getting into those side glutes. All right? That lateral movement, because your glutes do work laterally from your hip. And this is targeting them. And of course, I lost count again. We'll do one more. Good. All right. So now we've got quadruped with leg extension. Again, if you've done a critical alignment class with me, we've worked on this, possibly leg extension, and you lift, not letting your rib cage go, maintaining the stability of the rib cage, lifting that leg. And I want you to essentially pulse it slowly up here. Now, I'm just going to pivot for a second. If you look at my foot, the tendency is I'm stronger in this movement pattern with my toe pointing out to the side. I want you doing weaker movement patterns. Turn that toe, point it straight down. We're pulsing right there, okay? Switching sides. Left leg, again, same thing. Rib cage remains stable, and you're just pulsing straight up. Now, if you find that this gets really comfortable and you could do like 30 of these, by all means, grab a resistance band, put it around your ankle, around your knee, and lift from there. Now remember, I'm lifting into my lower back. I'm not doing this whole rib cage movement. Okay? Excellent. All right. Now, we're going to do, it's kind of a mobility movement, and it kind of works into the idea of doing a deadlift. It's a 90-90 hinge forward. So I've got my back leg sitting at 90 degrees. My front knee is at 90 degrees. If this is hard on your back knee, something goes underneath your right. So I'm sitting on my left hip. My right knee is the back knee. If this knee isn't comfortable, take a block or two, sit on it, lift your pelvis up. That's going to help release any strain that's on this back knee. Now I'm going to turn. Here's where it might get interesting. I'm going to use my hands first, and I'm going to hinge forward like I'm looking over the edge of a building. Sorry if you're scared of heights. Okay, you're leaning forward. If you don't lean like you're looking, what ends up happening is you round. I don't want you to round. I want you to lean forward like you're looking over the edge of a building. Now, I want you to ideally take your hands away, push down into this left leg, and come back up. Okay, you might need one or two hands, but I want the leg doing the movement. We're going to do 4 more of those. You're going to hinge forward, look forward, maybe take the hands away, press with that left leg and come up. Now maybe don't use your hands at all. Okay, so your leg, that hip, is controlling the entire movement of hinging forward and pressing up. And you're doing this with control. All right, we're going to switch sides. You're going to switch this over. Now my right knee's in front. Again, if this back knee is cranky, or even your hip, I know my hip doesn't particularly like internal rotation on this side. You can sit on something. Either way, use your hands first, hinge forward. You're going to feel a stretch. I want you to get to the point where this is a bit of a stretch, because at that long length point of the muscle fiber, you engage it and you come back up. Maybe not using your hands. All right? Use your hands as much as you need to, but do make sure 90% of that work is happening in that hip socket. Okay? We're lengthening forward and coming back up. One more. Again, I lost count. Now we're going to take it into squats. Okay? So coming up, I'm probably not going to see the top of my head. Toes are out slightly. Knees go same direction as your toes. and press up. Now here, if you do have weight, by all means, use the weight. But what I want you to play with are two aspects of your squat. One is the range of movement. How far can you go down comfortably? All right? Not forcefully. I know that there's some of you out there that will push through just about anything to do as much as you humanly can. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for challenging, but staying on the whisper edge of it. All right? We're working with pain here. We're not working with healthy, full-on, no pain type bodies. There is a difference, okay? So that's our squats. Second thing I do want you to work with when you're doing squats is if you have a weight, grab the weight, because that can help, all right? Now we're gonna move through that circuit 2 more times, starting with little bridge. So laying down, notice that tripod transition to sit down. Laying down, feet are planted, heels are close to my bum, lifting up, and we hang out here. I want this to be a bit more of an endurance work. If you have weights that you want to put, little bridge doesn't work so well because it kind of slide down to your face. But back down, knees are in slightly, that slight internal rotation, lifting again, hanging out. Get to the point where you feel like there is work happening. Then take another breath and then lower down. One more time, lifting up, hanging out here. Remember, we're pressing towards the shoulders gently, slight internal rotation of the legs, just a bit, and breathing. Feeling grounded, noticing that work, and then coming back down. Excellent. Side plank, okay? Getting onto one side, top leg is lifted or straight legs, dip. We're doing 5, okay? Dipping, or were we doing 8? All right, we're hanging out here. I'm pretty sure we were doing 8. So we're moving here. I am horrible at counting. My counting's bad. My lefts and rights are bad. Just give up on that basic stuff, okay? But realistically, when we work with pain, I want you to intrinsically pay attention to what you're doing, which means if you're doing 5 of these side lunges or side planks, and all of a sudden your body's like, oh, I don't want to do anymore. I need you to pause, connect with your breath, notice, acknowledge, and maybe do 1 or 2 more. You don't have to do 8. 8's just a number. It's an extrinsic number that we can focus on way out there. But when we focus on those extrinsic aspects, we stop paying attention to what our body feels like. So back to quadruped. Right leg extends out. Rib cage is nice and long. Back of the neck is long. Pulsing that right leg up, finding that connection through the glute. Probably feel it moving into the lower back and hanging out here. But you're lifting through the back of your knee, your toes pointed straight down, and then switching legs. Left leg, pulsing up right here. And again, same thing. Toe is pointing straight down, a little bit of internal rotation. Breathing, and then stopping. Now the nice thing is we're doing the 90-90 now, so it's a bit of a stretch for that muscle group that we just worked. Maybe not using the hands. Hinge forward, look over the edge push with that left leg, come up. Hinge forward. Push with that left leg, come up. Front knee, whichever knee's in front. Okay, and this one I remember. We're doing 3. Okay, and then we switch sides. All right, from here, same thing. Notice which side is a little different. Remember, I know you've heard me say this before. We are never going to be perfectly symmetrical. Okay, so if anything you're doing where you're trying to be perfectly balanced, you're creating essentially another focus for your nervous system to see as danger. We don't want that. We have enough. Okay, coming up, our squats. Toes out, maybe turn them out a little bit further this time. Knees go out to the side, press up. Okay, and I want you to move with control. This isn't a quick thing. It's a controlled movement. Okay, we could even slow it down even more. Up and down for the count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Back up. 4, 3, 2, 1. Play with the speed. When you do this brushing your teeth, play with the speed. Play with your foot position. You could have something underneath one foot so your feet are on different heights. So many different things you could do. All right. That's round number 2. Round number 3. Before we start it, take a breath. Ideally, in between each circuit, we do want to take a water break, just a minute or 2 to get the breath, to give the body that chance to feel like it can relax. We just did that work, and that's a good thing. Our muscles need to know how to contract and know how to relax, all right? I'm sure you've heard me say it before. I will keep saying it because our muscles so often hold on to some tension. We need to wiggle that out. All right, starting from the beginning, little bridge, moving into feet planted, knees in slightly, lifting up, hold, hang out here. Now, this isn't just about the movement itself, but about the endurance of holding this contraction in our back, because it is that contraction I talked about, where those lower back muscles are actually having to do practical human work. All right? They're not just holding grip, they're actually working. And then you lay down. Give them that brief moment of, lifting up again. Lift up, hang out, breathing, breathing with a connection to your nervous system. Your system is calm. It is work. Don't let your brain go, okay? Breathing. It is work. Lowering down. One more time. Knees are in slightly. Lifting up. Hanging out right here. Press with your feet towards your shoulders slightly. Release your jaw. Jaw does not need to be tight. Good. And then lowering down. Coming up. Side plank. We've got one leg extended, bottom leg, knee is bent. Dip down, lift. This leg is doing the pushing. Your shoulder is not pushing like this. Your shoulder is just a pivot point. That's it. Pivot point. Good. And if you can, press through the forearm of that arm. Good. Try not to just balance into the elbow joint. All right. Other side. Dip, lift. Right here. This time I'm actually going to try and count to 8. But again, like I mentioned, it's an intrinsic or an extrinsic motivation. It's an outward, of course, I lost count already, but it's not internal. And I know when I get to a certain point, I'm like, oh yeah, like it's really hard now. And I'm going to probably do 1 or 2 more because I can. But it's not about pushing through to hit a number. It's about challenging the body. Challenging without hitting that over too much spot. Remember, we want to find that sweet spot. All right, back to what we're doing. All right, all fours. Right leg is extended, toe points down. You're lifting through the back of your knee. It is a controlled movement. We're not just throwing the leg up there. It is a controlled pulse here. Ideally, connecting to that lumbar spine. Even, you probably even just feel it right at the top of the pelvis, okay? Switching legs, leg extends, pulsing up, right here, hanging out. Back of your neck is long, rib cage, not doing the movement. It's that movement of the leg through the pelvis into the lower back. Excellent. Coming through into 90-90. My left leg is in front, just works out that way. Hinging forward. I'm not using my hands, but you might want to, but you're using your leg to control the movement down, push into the ground, come back up. One more. Hinging and pressing back up. Switching sides. Here, hinging forward and pressing back up. Okay, hinging forward, finding a bit of that stretch and coming up. Remembering, you can always use something underneath the front leg hip. It'll make the back knee a little more comfortable. Can also make the front knee a little more comfortable too, depending on how that leg is. I think this is number 4 though. All right, coming up. Now, squats, okay? We're coming up to standing. Now, last one, toes were way out. This time, I'm gonna have one toe way out, the other toe in a little, not like in turn, but just not pointing as far out. Just a little different movement. The knees still travel, same direction as my toes are pointing, and the knees stay out in my squat. You'll notice sometimes when our knees come in when we go to push up. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is a stronger movement pattern. And I want you working on the weaker movement patterns. Yay! Okay, we're hanging out here. Let's do one nice slow one. 4, 3, 2, 1. Back up. 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Okay, that slow movement, because I want you to build control at every joint angle. All right, that's the last one. And that's it. That's our lower body circuit for today. It doesn't take that long. We did 3 rounds of some pretty good exercises. You can always add some more weight if you want, but just get the movement in, all right? We'll work on finding that sweet spot as well. But again, movement is good. Good for the joints, good for your mental health, good for everything. I could keep going. Either way, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment below or wherever you're watching this from, and I will see you in another video.